Your Next Customer, where we basically deliver the actionable intel for all of us in reference to sales, marketing, and of course, that good old fashioned customer service that we all need and appreciate so much in our businesses today. And I just want to say, of course, right up front, thank you so much to our good friends at your Washington County Chamber of Commerce for being our co-hosts here for this and all of our events. We so appreciate their leadership. And I want to get right to our special guest, because I tell you what, trying to catch up with this gentleman right here, that's a task in and of itself, but I was able to do it. And I got to let you know who we're in the room with today. So, ladies and gentlemen, he was born and raised in Gary, West Virginia, one of 8 children, graduated from West Virginia State University, a historically Black college and university, third generation coal miner, having worked in the coal mines in 13 years before starting his State Farm business. He came to Hagerstown after living in Pittsburgh in 1985 to start that business, and has served on a number of boards in the past, including the Democratic Central Committee, Washington County Board of Appeals, and the YMCA, just to name a few. He currently serves on the Barbara Ingram School Board, Washington County Ethics Commission, your Washington County Chamber of Commerce as executive board member, and the Washington County Museum of Fine Arts. And I'm just privileged to be able to share with you. He's also a proud father to 3 daughters, 2 sons, 7 grandsons, and 1 great granddaughter also as well. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and introduce to you Mr. Steve Swayne. Mr. Swayne, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, Eddie. How you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. So good to have you here, and really appreciate your time. And, you know, I really appreciate not only you being here, but being here in reference to this topic of culture in the workplace. You know, it's so very, very important today. It's being, I think, talked about more than it has been ever. I was just going to say in recent years, but I'm just going to say it like it is, that ever. And I didn't know of a better person to be able to be a guest and share this information with you all today. So having said that, speaking of culture, it's been said that it's environmental. It's always evolving. It always seeks to add for a good ad rather than a good fit. And it's been called your company's DNA. And that is, in fact, your culture. So that's one of the first times I had ever heard it put like that when I was doing some research on the topic. And I wanted to put that there right off the bat as a theme, if you will, and kind of get your background as far as your comments on that and how you think about culture when you think about it in the workplace today.
Well, yeah, I'm really honored and privileged to be here today, just to drop a few nuggets on some things I grew up with. And I think culture comes from your environment, what you grew up with. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm from a small town, still don't have a stoplight in the town.
Right.
And I used to tell people, you know, you have stop signs, but nobody stopped at the stop signs. It just rolled right through them. But I was one of 8 kids, and education was a premier in our community. Mm-hmm. Everybody was destined to go to college. That's how we were all raised. Mm-hmm. As coal miners, they judged their success on how their kids did. Now, both my grandfathers worked in the coal mines. My dad worked around the coal mines, and I worked in the coal mines too. Mm-hmm. Through college, after college, I was an industrial engineer for U.S. Steel. Then I worked for the feds as a safety inspector. And I worked in Colorado, West Virginia, Utah, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania. So I've been privileged to be around a lot of different people, mm-hmm. even in our community. Even though we went to a segregated school, our neighbors were white. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I had the privilege of going to a segregated school up to the 6th grade, where all our teachers were Black, my uncles, my godmother, the people we knew in the community. So it gave us a sense of really recognizing and exploring our culture.
Right.
But we had the culture from our neighbors, which were from Hungary. Mm-hmm. So it was, coal miners were a very diverse group. In our county, we had 4 Black high schools in our county when they integrated. 33% of the population was Black in that county. When people think about West Virginia, they don't think many Black people lived there. But Black miners came from down south, Virginia. My dad's folks were from Virginia, all over the work in the coal mines.
And is that basically that's where the work was, right?
That's where you get off the plantations, yeah, to get off the farms. So, our culture was rich in that we had different people of different nationalities in our community. So you were able to get along with everybody. We played ball together. Eventually we went to school together. So everything was, we're very conscious on culture.
And that reflected also, it was your community, if you will.
Oh, yes, it was community. It was community culture. Even though we had differences, but we're all one. When you work in the coal mines, you're all one.
Right.
It's like going to war every day.
Right.
When I did that every day, it was like, you had to really psych yourself up and get ready for that.
Right.
People, they can't do that. That was way of life.
Right.
Now, our community was very unique in that education was premier. Out of 8 of us in my family, 6 of us graduated from college. And the other 2 had great jobs on top of that too, even though they didn't go to college. But everybody was destined to go to school. Now, when you graduated from high school, you got 2 gifts: suitcase and a bus ticket. You're either going to work in the cities, you're going to college,
right,
or you were going to military. That's what you got. You got a suitcase and you got a bus ticket. But I tell you, it was a great place to grow up. Now, my career, I went to work for Department of Labor in Denver. So I got to go to Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, inspecting different coal mines. Now, I was in coal mines in Utah, was all Mormon, was in the mines. It was in Price, Utah. Of course, I was the only African-American in the mines. I was in the mines in Colorado where everybody spoke Spanish but me. That was a different experience.
Right.
So, but all that had to build a foundation of what I'm doing now. I've always been about helping people. Been a mediator, peacemaker, trying to take care of people. And as a safety inspector is what I did. I had the lives of hundreds of men in my hands by how I inspected the mines, how I made sure the companies went by the safety rules. Now, when I transferred it to my job now, to my occupation now, I do. I take care of my family. Who is my clients? They're my family. I tell them all the time, I treat you like family. And the advice I give you and what I want to do, what I would do for my own brother, sister.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about that on that point, and you said it's your family, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit also as well, Steve, because we talk about culture. We also talk about diversity. You mentioned that also as well. But then we also need to talk about inclusion. And, they're not necessarily the same thing, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier. And I was given, I thought years ago, one of the best definitions that gave the difference between diversity and inclusion. And basically it said in a nutshell that diversity was being invited to the party. Inclusion was being asked to dance. And I always love that because it absolutely, your first comment when I shared that with you was, but you got to have one before you can even think about having the other. And I wanted to ask you to put that in perspective based on your background. You've talked about all of the different, everything, even the different nationalities, so forth and what have you, but everybody had to come together, had to be one team for that mission to be accomplished, right? I mean, that's just the way it was. But from the inclusion standpoint, where did you see where it went from not just being diverse, because that was pretty obvious, but tell us about the examples of where you saw that it was inclusive also as well throughout the cultures that you have experienced.
Now, when I look at diversity, to me, that's a noun.
Okay.
Inclusion is a verb.
Okay.
Diversity is talking about it. Inclusion is doing it. If you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense, because you can talk about diversity all day, but if you're not doing anything, what's that mean?
Well, like we were saying, a brochure with a nice picture on it can show quote unquote diversity. Right. That's all it takes, is to just show people that look different, right? Different ages also as well, and so forth. Does not necessarily mean that it's all inclusive when it gets down to the nitty gritty, right?
Right. Because those people in the brochures could be actors.
Well, there you go.
They could not necessarily be real people.
Right.
As far as inclusion, my grandfather was a coal miner, but when he got out of the mines, he put on his white shirt and tie. Every day. He was the president of the Borough Fund, which it was an organization they put together in case miners got killed. They had enough money to burrow.
Wow. Okay.
So it was diverse, but it included everybody. It was a union organizer also. So, sometimes I feel a lot like him, that I use some of his traits. He was a peacemaker. Everybody liked him. Everybody wanted to include him in what he was doing. But, to be inclusive, that's how I got my job. Now, back in the mid-'80s, financial institutions were coming under a lot of pressure to be like their customers.
Right.
So, okay, they talked about diversity, and now they had to be inclusive. So they went out, and State Farm, like other financial institutions, banks, and other companies, they want to include minorities in their workforce. Of course, with women, with blacks, of course, Asians and Hispanics. Now, out of 18,000 agents in State Farm, they're still trying to reach higher goals. They're still looking at more inclusive. Because there was a time that minorities didn't have the financial assets to know a lot of things with insurance.
Right.
So things have changed, they become more inclusive. And they're going to HBCUs to hire people, to hire agents, and they always look for good people of different backgrounds to take these positions.
Absolutely. And you talk about going back to the culture side also as well, seeking a good ad rather than a good fit. Right. There's a difference. And so we're not talking necessarily today in accomplishing the mission, just having someone just to have a body there. Right. Just to kind of come in, punch out and what have you, because it looks good. So talk to us a little bit about your experiences when it comes to the difference between saying, what, we think you'd be a good fit. We've all been guilty. We've all said that before. It just seemed like what to say. But actually, shouldn't we be saying we think you'd be a good ad? Because your culture, is it not? It's always evolving. Yeah. Because it's made up of people.
When I think about that, I think about what John Lewis said. Good trouble.
Good trouble.
Sometimes if you fit too well, you don't have that difference of opinion. Because difference of opinion expands your thought and your horizon. And just being a fit doesn't sometimes do good it's not the best for the company or the individual.
Well, it stymies your growth, and can't you kind of disappear?
Right. Kind of blend in.
Well, there you go.
Rather than have somebody that, we got different ideals. You got different thoughts. And that's how that diversity comes into play then. That's the physical diversity, even the mindset of people that have to think out the box.
Absolutely. And Steve, that's the point, because another word comes to mind when I think of diversity. I think of disruptive thinking, right? And I always tell the joke, back in the day, if I had taken that report card home and the teacher said, little Eddie's being disruptive in class, that's probably not a good thing, right? Back in the day. But today we look at disruptive as being innovative. Right. We look at it as thinking outside the box, like you just said. And this is where it's so important, I think, for all of us to recognize, whoever that decision, that overall owner is, that it's a win-win for everybody when you have all of these different thoughts coming from all these different backgrounds, experiences, and so forth, to take it further, as long as it stays within the vision, right, and the overall mission. But you can have so many different ideas, and some of them even competing ideas, because you don't know which one is the best because they're all so good.
Yeah, that's true. You know, sometimes as humans, we want to be around what makes us comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're alone in that being comfortable. You want somebody that not only looks like you, but thinks like you, have the same religious or political or world experiences as you.
Right.
But that doesn't help you grow. It doesn't help your organization grow.
It helps you feel good. It's a comfort zone, but they say there's no growth in your comfort zone, right?
That's true. So you have to kind of get out of that. Now, if your school teacher probably now put on your report card innovative.
Yeah.
Free thinker. Free spirit.
Right.
And all those other things that they were trying to fit you in that box.
Right. Absolutely.
And now that's all those things are good things now.
Now they're good things. That's right.
Experience. But you have to recognize those things though, as an employer, or company, or individual. You got to recognize the good things that you get from different people.
Absolutely. And that's a great segue to go to the last point that I wanted to make as well. And that has to do how you appreciate your people. The first thing you have to do is recognize them and look beyond those who are right in front of you. So, you know, you always have the group that is, for example, if you're in a company and the major driver is sales, you know, the ones who are always going to get the major attention are whoever the ones are that are knocking it out the park, right? Every single day, your top salespersons and what have you. But you're really stunting your growth, are you not, and not reaching your fullest potential if you're not looking past some of those folks, not because you're not recognizing them, but if you're not looking past them and seeing those that are in admin, right? Because you're either in sales or you're in support of someone who's in sales. So what about the ones that are constantly getting the paperwork done, taking all the phone calls, all the messages, all of those different things to keep him and her on track so that they can be at the level that they are? Because last time I checked, nobody does it all by themselves. No, so what do you look at when in terms of, give us some ideas and thoughts on how do you appreciate your teammates? You know, you've been in a lot of different environments, a lot of different industries, and it still comes down to people. How do you see some of the best examples of appreciating those folks?
Well, one thing I always try to do is never go over people's head unless it's absolutely, positively. I know people that try to go over people's heads for anything.
Right.
And you support people. Like we have our claim people, our service people. I try to give them praise every time I talk to them. Right. Thank them for what they do for us.
Absolutely.
Because they make my job easier.
There you go.
Because, you know, I sell the promise and they fulfill the promise.
There you go.
How they treat people in claims. You know, and all through the years, all my people that I work for, I let them know that I appreciate you. Because, you know, they make my job easier. Because I know I can't do it all by myself. Now, I've been fortunate. My son has been working for me for years. I don't know what I'd do without him. Even though everybody say we sound alike, that, you know, we are different. Right. And you know, he does a lot for me that I don't even think he realizes how much he does for me. But I have our support people that work for State Farm. They're tremendous people. They're all about helping people.
Absolutely.
And I try to give them compliments, you know, and never try to downplay what they do. When everybody's been working remotely now, right? Sometimes communication is not as smooth as it used to be. But patience is the key. Yes. Patience when you're dealing with people. Now, I have a saying that I say to all my people all the time, even my clients, Sunny and 80. And that's an attitude. That's Sunny and 80 is what? That's perfect weather. So if you keep that attitude of Sunny and 80.
Sunny and 80.
Right. And you know, it keeps it on a, well, that sounds good. We can work with that. It's sunny lady. Don't be gloom and gloom all the time, even though
Right.
sometimes it is gloomy out there.
Right.
But we got to keep positive. Even though we've had a bad year in 2020, we're going to hopefully see better skies. Now, my pastor, he tells us all the time that we're in a storm, coming out of a storm, or getting ready to go in a storm.
Mhm.
You know, when the sky is blue and clear, you know what's going to happen, don't you? Storm's coming.
It's coming. Just can't see it.
Yeah, it's coming. We
Mhm.
got to be prepared for it. And that's what
Absolutely.
we talk about insurance. I tell people that everything is blue and clear now. But
Right.
one day, the storm is coming.
Mhm.
And I'm going to help you prepare for that storm that's coming. Hope you never have to have that.
Mhm.
Now, and I need to say this one thing right quick. The date is
Sure.
off is February.
Mhm.
Now I'm a red on, and I also have a red cup. It's water in the cup, folks. But the red, though, it's supposed to symbolize love. And also it symbolizes you buy life insurance for people you love and for people that loves you. So that's the theme for this month is red. Think about that. If you don't have your life insurance in order, now this is commercial.
Right.
So pull the policies out. I
Mhm.
know sometimes there's things that we don't want to think about,
That's right.
but it's happening to somebody every day.
Every day.
It's
Oh,
happening
it
now
is.
unexpectedly.
He interviewed me a couple of weeks ago.
We've had a personal experience recently. It happens to somebody all the time. So, you know, pull those policies out, call your insurance agent. I don't care who he is.
Mhm.
You know, have somebody you could trust and
This
talk to.
is still there.
Get off the subject. But go ahead.
Oh no, listen, that's right on time because and still in
That's what
talking
called
about
some screening.
appreciating your people, like you said, that's your family. And that's exactly what you do. And I'm reminded of a story that I heard, and the boss was constantly giving out, the gift cards and some gift baskets here or there, especially to this particular young lady that was really performing over and above. And all of a sudden, as soon as she had an opportunity, she was gone from the organization. And just before she went out the door, he caught her and said, "Listen, I'm just flabbergasted. I don't know what's going on. I've given you, your thank you cards, and I've given you this and so forth and what have you." And long story short was basically what she was offered was the inclusion. She was offered the opportunity to be a project manager so that now she could help oversee all of the different things that she was doing and just being given a gift card for. Along with that, but she knew of her value and her worth. And when that happens and someone else comes along and sees the same thing, watch out, because if you haven't appreciated your people more than saying thank you, if you haven't appreciated them and shown them their value, that welcome is everything. It's long lasting. And that's the reason that she left. And it's tough to keep and get these good people after you've nurtured them all of this time and it's a part of the culture and they're a good ad. I tell you what, that's a big void now that you have to try to fill when someone like that is gone. Steve, listen, this has been awesome, and I know we could go on and on. I do have to ask you, though, how can our audience get in contact with you? What's the best way for them to reach you, sir?
Of course, my phone number is 301-791-3384. Also, you can email me at insurance@steveswayne.com. That's SWAYNE. Or you can get me online on the internet, steveswayne.com. You know, I've been in business here in Hagerstown downtown for over 35 years. That's hard to believe. You know,
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, you don't get to do that by doing a lot of things wrong, but by learning and doing a lot of things right, sir. And we appreciate you.
Okay, well, we really appreciate our people. I have some great people I work with.
Mm-hmm.
I work for.
There you go.
And, I work with State Farm, but I work for my clients.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you here. Let me know if I can help you.
Oh, listen, absolutely, sir. Listen, I appreciate you, and we'll be in touch. Looking forward to higher heights and working with you going to the future. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard all of Steve's information. Get in contact with him, or like he said, if you don't have him, get in contact with your own agent and make sure your house is in order, because if 2020 showed us anything, Steve, is that a storm can be bigger than we could possibly have imagined and last not for just for days or weeks, but for months and even going into another year. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much as always for tuning in to Your Next Customer. Make sure you bring somebody back with you the next time around. I believe they'll thank you for it. God bless you. Stay busy, stay safe, stay healthy and wealthy, and we'll see you next time around. God bless.
Thank you very much.
All right. Awesome. And we're back. Good stuff, huh? Good stuff. I know I noticed a lot of folks taking good notes and so forth. And let's see, Steve, did we lose you? I sure hope we didn't. I hope you're still there. There you go. I see you. Come on off of mute, sir, because I know there's going to probably be some questions that are going to be directed to you. I definitely want to just make sure that I ask everyone, unless you have something going on, of course, in your background, please feel free to come on off of mute and share some thoughts on all of the many gold nuggets that Steve was laying out there. And Miss Tony, if you haven't come off mute yet, if you would be able to do so, if you're not multitasking as well, certainly would appreciate hearing from you. In addition, and simply because of all you do in the community, I met you and had the privilege of going to one of your seminars also as well, and have never forgotten it. So thank you once again for being here. I want to start this off this way in terms of culture. We talked about diversity and inclusion and the difference between the two. And I just want to ask any and every one of you all, starting with Ms. Tony, if I may, when you talk about diversity, inclusion, how is that being looked at? It seems very, and what can we expect, I think, going? That's why I gave it to you.
Thank you. And again, I'm glad to be here. I have enjoyed this tremendously. Let me say this. I make a case of diversity today. And I was doing this for years, but man, you gave it too much. And Eddie, you gave a quote, and it's a quote that I use a lot today. Also, diversity is about being inclusive. My favorite in this area. You said that is a verb. It's still like that. Mm-hmm. Another added piece to that is when you look at all aspects, so diversity, inclusion, the experiences, that's where so many organizations go wrong. Do not just be for naught if you retain it.
You were very well. So right, pretty much you just said to have this open. What we got right now? You Sela.
Across. When our territory to go events to recruit volunteers, have people sign up for smoke detectors, blood drives, etc. And I like to think that I'm a nice enough guy and I don't scare folks away. And Spanish in the
it's so I try to describe for I see you kind of shaking including a verb. Right? Diversity. So
because I hear and I agree with Tony. If it is not done the way it should be, it's two meaningless words. Mm-hmm. Diversity, we here in Washington County, now I'm focused on Washington County, we have continued to be more and more diverse. I also went to Washington County in 2005. First, I spent Cuba to Frederick. And when I was with Body, it was the beginning when we knew what diversity meant. Sometimes the understanding of the cultures. Not always, and there is a misconception. Not so much now because people are more careful on their opinions, but many years ago I heard the expression, "Why don't they learn English?" Mm. And honestly, that's a misconception that still exists. Some of the people, and I'm not talking just about Hispanics, I'm talking about from other countries, they are just beginning to learn the language. okay? They do speak some English, but they still have difficulties, and they try. And that is, and I'm explaining that because of the translations and interpretation services. They say, well, why don't they learn English? And as I said earlier, they do, okay? And they are still trying. But when you have a medical emergency, you have medication, you understand, and that they receive those services. And the people understand. That's part of the diversity and inclusion, for us to feel them included, to understand, that they are heard and respected.
Absolutely. Understanding cultures very beginning. And I think it's so important to recognize this, that when you hear that phrase, why don't they learn English? You can't say that without saying they.
Mm-hmm.
It is automatically they have now stated and put into group. That's a slippery slope as far as I'm concerned, least, because now you start categorizing people accordingly, and you automatically understand the culture. That goes right out the window, right, immediately. And Steve, I want to get back to the attitude you were talking about the weather. I love it because you said that's all, and I think that when we left that in, I wrote that down off the board. It wasn't just for any particular situation. It was just one of those things that you can wake up with and go to bed with. Just sunny and 80 was an overall attitude. And when you have an attitude of gratitude, if you will, it changes things, right? It changes how you interact with people. It changes people, hopefully how they see you also. And I believe that's one of the very first things that has to happen, because you recognize people differently. You appreciate them differently. And don't you have to acknowledge people right off the bat? You have to see them. You have to even understand that they're there, that they exist, and the roles that all of us are playing. Because last time I checked, no one person does it by themselves. No one person. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, yeah, first of all, I want to apologize to the audience. I didn't realize it was so commercial. Had a lot of commercials in there. But
no worry, it's all good.
But this diversity and inclusion, it really goes to my heart, and that it is an attitude and it's a way of life. I think about when I first came to Hagerstown, I got these I call them dead fish handshakes. People shook your hand and they really didn't, you couldn't feel it. But after they felt the sincerity of what I was trying to do for them, and my attitude toward them, it changed. So they didn't see the color of my skin, or that I was, my physical appearance. They saw my heart. And we as people, we have to look at everybody and look at their hearts and what they bring with their hearts. Because physical appearance sometimes really is misleading.
Yes, it is.
People can look like that, like they're welcoming and they're inclusive, and they're not by their actions. But this whole thing is really about being a Christian, like treating people right. That's where this exclusion, this diversity, all this comes in. That's one thing. Just do the right thing for people and with people. And let's don't look at their physical appearance. Man, I got clients from all walks of life in every part of the county, from Dargan to Clear Spring to Jonathan Street. And they're all part of my family. And I look at everybody's family. And we all family. I was raised the same way in a diverse community, even in a diverse family. We all look different. And of course, we all act different, but we're all family. And that's why we gotta break these barriers down and just start treating everybody like family, like you want to be together. Of course, sometimes you don't like people's attitudes, but don't take it personal sometimes. I got people call and they want to fight, and you can see that they're having a difficult time. And they can't call the lawyers, they can't call the doctors, they can't call the accountants, because they get charged by the hour, but they call their insurance agent. But it's hard to fight with somebody when you've been nice to them. When they feel that smile coming across the phone that you care about them, That breaks that barrier down. You don't want to fight then. So how you doing today? Okay, well, how the kids? Okay, well, I got that. I said, but all these problems, in fact, Ed, I don't ever use that word, problems, questions and concerns. Because problems is a negative thing to start with. Questions and concerns, that's all we want. What's your question concern today? Well, I got this, it's not a problem. It could be solved. It could be mitigated. We could take care of that. Like I said, I want to apologize for being too commercial heavy there. But, you know, dealing with people, we all got to look at people as people. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the fame and fortune that comes with it. I mean, I do some things that I don't want people to know I do it because I don't want to be self-fulfilling, self-gratification. I mean, I do it because I want to help people.
Exactly.
You know, and we all do things like that. We don't want to be out front waving our own flags. That's not a good look, waving your own flag. Is it?
Absolutely.
But I know, you have the expert about diversity, Tony. I've known Tony for years. And I know she's an expert on this thing. So people need to listen to really what she says about it, because she dealt with a lot of people about this, a lot of companies.
Absolutely.
I hate to cut it off, but I need to leave. If anybody have any questions for me, any coal mine questions, I still remember that culture. When I tell people I've been retired for 30 years, ever since I left the coal mines, because that is, people don't really know what some people actually do for a living to support their families. I've seen it. Just like your desk, I worked like under your desk. I worked in coal mines that low for a living. And there's people do that 30, 40 years to support their families. But anybody have any questions for me? I mean, I don't know everything, but if I don't know the answer, I can get it and get back to you.
And by the way, and Steve, if you didn't already before you go, and this is a great way to tell everyone else, please make sure you put your contact information in the chat right quick, okay, before we leave here, because we'll be wrapping up shortly. But I want to make sure that we get to, network beyond the Zoom room. That's what this is all about also as well. In lieu of us being, I know we'd rather be in front of each other, but let's make sure that we can network beyond this awesome meeting and exchange of ideas and so forth. So get that information into the chat room. Tony, please make sure you have yours there also as well, so that we can go further with this. Something tells me there's going to be a part 2, part 3. This is all ongoing, right? Because this can't be just wrapped up, obviously, in just one. I do have to tell you all one thing though. I'd be remiss if I didn't share this with you. And I don't mind sharing the organization also as well, because we think about perceptions, and Sela said it again best, understanding cultures and so forth. And then Steve said, looks can be deceiving. And then Sela said on the back also as well, misperception. So I remember in reference to an organization that I was looking, because I was visiting from time to time, and it was our Elks right here in town. And it was so very interesting. And this is the one, because there's 2. So this is the one I didn't know about, the Black Elks on Jonathan, right? Am I right, Steve? I think that's where I'm almost, yes, sir. And then, but I wasn't even aware of it. And I actually ended up going there because of singing and so forth. Here's my point. When I would share with others, because I'm just kind of a natural recruiter, if I'm having a good time somewhere and think you should be in the room, I'm going to tell you about it and I'm going to invite you. That's just kind of what I do. And I would invite folks, and it was whoever was in front of me, black, white, green, it didn't matter to me. Let's go have a good time. That's universal. And what was interesting is that when I would speak to several African Americans, what their thoughts were, because from a history, they were, oh, that really, that one? That's the one that you go to? And then they would tell me history wise, and it was like, man, we just never went there. And I bring this up in the sense because I heard a coach the other day, she's a fitness coach, and she said something that really stuck with me, short but profound. She said, stop watching and start doing. Stop watching and start doing. And that just really resonated with me. And I realized that that's exactly what I was doing there. So we're there at the Elks. We're having a good time. It's all around music and good fun and enjoying good company. And yes, as I went in, I realized that obviously I was not necessarily looking like everybody else, Steve. But once they got to know me and I got to know them, now all of a sudden it's hugs and handshakes and we're just palling around, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody's just people. We're just regular folk. But if we can't get past that saying they, Sela, why don't they? If we can't get past that, we'll never get to. Here's my point. Fast forward once again. My dear friend is now getting ready to be inducted and will be the first African-American exalted ruler for this particular Elks in its 100+ year history. And that's getting ready to happen coming up. Now, he didn't do that just because he wanted to just do that all on his own. He just became a servant leader. That's what his heart is. But they welcomed him with open arms, reached out to him and said, would you do this? And what have you. So it was a combination of him wanting to serve, but them also being inclusive, being diverse, and being the noun and the verb, if that makes sense. And I am proud to say that also as well, in terms of him being the first African-American exalted ruler there in 100+ year history, right there at Elks Lodge 378. They also have the first Black chaplain as well in that particular organization, and that be me. So I'm just sharing with you all, these are the kinds of things that are happening. They're happening all the time. I don't say this to toot our horn or anything along those lines, but you got to get to know people. If you just continue to be on the sidelines, that's kind of what I was segueing to when I said before, we're kind of either in it and we get baptized and jump all the way in, but you can't toe dip. You've got to be a part, an active part of all of this, because lip service won't do it. Right? You can't toe dip. This has got to be something that is really, in fact, our activity. How about that? Our activity has to be all inclusive. Does that make sense? That really has to be a verb also as well, and across the board. So listen, we're coming right up on, we're at the very top of the hour. And I want to make sure that I respect everyone's time. Once again, hoping that everyone has put their contact information in the chat, because I certainly do want to talk with each and every one of you again. In fact, I'm going to put it out this way. I just want to ask everyone, if you would please, when you have 30 seconds of time, please shoot me an email and let me know, not just for this particular episode, but for those that we've been having before. I sure do appreciate any and all of your comments to be able to make sure that this is the best use of your time in the mornings on Your Next Customer here, because this is all for you. And I really get excited once a month along these lines to be able to have not only you in here, but all of the new faces that I see here as well. And I certainly do appreciate you. So thank you for considering to do that and to reach out to me so that I can reach right back out to you also as well. Listen, stay prosperous, stay healthy, stay safe in this crazy weather. I tell you, we get 2 or 3 days of sun and then 3 to 5 more inches. So it's just, everyone, please look out for our neighbors also as well. That may not have the access to get around, some of our senior citizens, that kind of thing. Make sure we're keeping them in mind, not just in the neighborhood, but across the country, and pray for our neighbors also as well with all the horrific weather that they're dealing with. Listen, thank you. We appreciate you, and keep praying for our troops. Please remember, small business is in fact big business, and we really, really need to support each other. Okay, so we will see you the next time around on Your Next Customer. Brianna, always as a pleasure. We can't do this without you, so appreciate you. Next time I'm gonna find that link on my own, and I won't have to be texting you to find out what everybody else already had. That's an inside joke, y'all, for y'all don't know about that. Okay, thanks again. God bless everyone. Have a prosperous week, and we will see you next time around.
Thank you, Steve and Eddie. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
I'll do the same.